Thanks for joining me on Analista de la Liga with me, Terry Gibson. I'm going to have a quick look at the Champions League affair this week. Very dramatic, of course. It looked like it was going to be a struggle for Barcelona when they conceded, as they usually do first in a game of football. Made hard work of it. Were 1-0 down at half time against Copenhagen. Managed to run out comfortable winners 4-1 in the end. There was a degree of fortune in that game, and Barcelona weren't impressive. Copenhagen could have added to the one goal they scored in the first half. When you're looking at the goals, Lewandowski gets them back on level terms just after half time. There's a deflected goal from Lamine Yamal. There's a really soft penalty where Lewandowski was fouled and Rafinha takes it and scores. Marcus Rashford come off the bench and scored a good free kick, but I still think the goalkeeper should have done better. But there was no Pedri, there was no Frenkie de Jong in midfield, and it showed. But Barcelona, they got the job done and they go through as automatic qualifiers. Now the big drama was, of course, Real Madrid. They go into the game in a top 8 position. A win would have seen them through. And it was a dreadful performance, it really was. I mean, they end up losing 4-2. We know the circumstances with the last goal, where the goalkeeper goes up against the Real Madrid team who've got 2 players sent off. So when you add it up, Benfica put everybody in the box apart from the player taking the set piece, so there's 10 attacking players. Real Madrid were down to 9 men, goalkeeper, 8 defenders marking 10. No one picked the keeper up, and he scored a fabulous header. It really was. But Real Madrid were getting beat anyway. It was Benfica that needed an extra goal to qualify for the playoffs. And now, consequently, it's turned out that it is Benfica against Real Madrid in the playoffs to go into the last 16. The drama was, Real Madrid 2 players sent off, an ill-disciplined performance. I looked at the game in general. They could have been 3 or 4-0 down by 3-4-1 down by half time. Score 2 goals. Who scores them? Kylian Mbappe. Nobody else scores. Defensively, they were a shambles. And when you look at the goals and you isolate the goals, and looking at the first goal for Benfica scored was Valverde's attacking the far post, looking for a cross from the left flank. Real Madrid are 1-0 up. When it breaks down, the movement breaks down from Real Madrid. Valverde then races from his own penalty box to the opposing penalty box, runs past Franco Mastantuono, who's 18 and is a gifted footballer. His attitude has been good up until now, so I'm not questioning his attitude. Valverde races past him. Mastantuono, when the ball goes into the penalty area, Asensio goes to ground. It's a classic counter-attack. Valverde nearly gets there. He's gone from box to box with a sprint at full pelt. Mastantuono barely got back over the halfway line. He jogged. Now, it kind of gives the impression that's the culture at Real Madrid now. And another big goal they conceded. Jude Bellingham was at left back. Asensio was right back. Valverde was at centre back. There's a lack of cohesion with Real Madrid, which I think has got worse since Arbeloa took over. He's given licence to some of the attacking players, Vinicius in particular, that doesn't have to chase back. He's trying to get the best out of Vinicius by telling him that he can do no wrong. And I just think what Real Madrid lack is discipline. They lack structure with their performance in terms of positional play. And as I say, players are all over the place. When they lose possession of the ball, anybody could be anywhere. And it's a problem for Arbeloa. Should he have got the job? Of course not. He wouldn't get any other job in La Liga. And yet here he is, manager of arguably the biggest club in the world, the big 2 in La Liga. And he wouldn't be manager of Levante or Mallorca or Sevilla or Real Sociedad. But he's got the Real Madrid job. It's self-inflicted from Real Madrid. Florentino Perez made the change. Didn't support Xabi Alonso for the entire season. It's been a struggle for Xabi Alonso, and I think this drama has been self-inflicted for Real Madrid. So they're still in the competition. They're 1 point behind Barcelona. They can still win La Liga. They can still win the Champions League. They have the players to do it. Do they have the manager to do both of those? In my opinion, no. So I think that's going to need rectifying. Are they going to leave it for the rest of the season? Is Florentino Perez going to be stubborn and stick to his original choice? I just don't see it. And I look at it, I think that Raul Gonzalez, 6 years as B-team coach. Zidane had a similar role, but he had a year where he was assistant manager to Ancelotti. Then he went back to the B-team. Then he came back as manager. I thought there should have been some progression with Raul. who did that job for 6 years. Why wasn't he given an opportunity to be one of the coaching staff with the first team with Ancelotti? You know, Ancelotti had his son as the assistant or as a coach. Incidentally, he went off to Botafogo in Brazil and lost his job after 5 months. I think there should have been a progression there for Real Madrid to have had Raul as part of Ancelotti's staff. So if anything happened in the future, which Ancelotti decided to leave or the club parted ways, then Raul would have been in pole position, similar to Zidane. So the fact that Arbeloa had 6 months as the B team manager after previously managing the under-19s and gets the Real Madrid job, this is a kind of what I expected to see. I expect them to beat Rayo Vallecano at the weekend because they've got Kylian Mbappe. And, you know, that's the difference. He'll score goals. He'll get them enough goals in the game at the weekend to beat Rayo. But in terms of progressing for the rest of the season, it's going to be tough for Real Madrid. As I say, Barcelona skated through. Athletic Club just missed out from finishing in the playoffs. Been a disappointing campaign. 8 points, 29th in the league. Nowhere near as bad as Villarreal, of course, who got 1 point, which was disgraceful. I mean, they've been good this season in La Liga. They've been a bad, poor reputation for Spanish football in the Champions League. Too much moaning from the manager about the extra games. Well, why? You know, you go all out to qualify. They're going all out to qualify again for next season. Marcelino is complaining that they played on Wednesday night. They've got to play on Saturday at, I think it's the 4:15 kick-off. He's moaning about that. But Barcelona and Atletico Madrid are playing on Saturday as well. So they haven't gone all out in that competition. They've made money from being in the Champions League. It could have made more money, but they've been disappointed. And Atletico Madrid had a perfect chance. And watching the games during the night unfold, and at one stage it looked like if Atletico won their game, they would knock Real Madrid out of the top 8. It would have been Atletico in the top 8 and not Real Madrid. As it turned out, Chelsea went through. They got the winner. Sporting Lisbon got a winner against Athletic Club. But there was a possibility that Atletico could have gone through. 1-0 up against Bodo Glimt, lose 2-1. Question marks should be over Simeone now. You know, I'm giving them an outside chance in La Liga. It's very outside. I think it's eight points behind Barcelona. And now they've got the playoffs as well. So in the against Club Brugge in the Champions League. So, yeah, it's an important stage of the season for Atletico Madrid, for Simeone. The fear is, it's a bit like Arsene Wenger at Arsenal when the last few years there. They're in fear of changing Simeone because it doesn't always get better. But they must be looking at the club now and thinking, we've invested all this money, we've got the new stadium. Is it just enough to finish top 4? They shouldn't be getting beat by Bodo Glimt at home. I look at, in general, that's the state of the La Liga teams. They've been disappointed. And in general, I look at La Liga teams in the Champions League. I look at the coaches that they have. I think in La Liga, in Spanish football, there's some fantastic coaches. Not all of them in La Liga, but there are fantastic coaches. When you look at the managers of these clubs, Hansi Flick, top class. We've spoken about Arbeloa, we don't know. Atletico Madrid, Diego Simeone, Ernesto Valverde, Athletic Club, Marcelino at Villarreal. Really good, top class managers. Yet in this playoff, in the qualifying stages in the Champions League, Barcelona conceded 14 goals, which is too many, but it's their ID. They score loads. I think it was only Arsenal scored more. So that's how Barcelona play. That's their identity. Real Madrid conceded 12. Yes, they score goals as well, but still conceding 12 goals is a touch too much for Real Madrid. Atletico conceded 15 goals in 8 matches in the Champions League. Now we look at these coaches, and I'm talking about Athletic Club. They conceded 14, which is a disaster, but they only scored 9. And then Villarreal scored 5 and conceded 18. Now my point I'm making is the structure of these clubs in the Champions League, with those managers, except for Arbeloa of course, they normally are well organised, the teams are well coached, they don't concede loads of goals. I'm not just talking about the old school Atletico Madrid winning every game 1-0. So I think there's room for improvement from the coaches of the teams that qualified in the Champions League this season from La Liga. It's not normal for them to be conceding these goals. Not normal for Valverde's team to be conceding left, right and centre, or Marcelino's team. So I think it's been poor form from the coaches this season, and Simeone of course. So that's my take on the Champions League for the La Liga representation. Real Madrid are still in it, Barcelona are still in it, Atletico Madrid are still in it. PSG qualified last season through the playoffs and won it. So I still think Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico will have a chance of winning the thing if they improve. Barcelona, although they finished in the top 8, I still think there's room for improvement. But who knows? But it's going to be fun to watch. So that's my take on the Champions League from the La Liga representation. Hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to tune in to Analista de la Liga. Catch up with my posts, with my thoughts. Thanks. And don't forget to subscribe. Have a great weekend of football. Catch you next week.